everyone. Today we have our another new episode, and we will discuss on AI rights. And you know that especially our audience know in Bangladesh, and in Japan, and in India, we organize one of the largest business incubation summit. It's for entrepreneurship summit. 617 entrepreneurs join in this training programs, and we promote AI tutors as well as Tom Ross book with the entrepreneur. Beside that, in Japan, largest business incubation, B Lab, they also publish the news and they also promote our programs. I think everything online our audience can see. So we get a huge response from the audience, especially from the grassroots level people. They are more interested about AI tutors. And today we have different topic about AI rights. You know, right now we have massive economical challenges because of COVID, because of this wire, and right now we are trying our level best to uplifting our economy through social entrepreneurship. But in that situation, we are observing AI actually bring a lot of attention from industry and from academia. So, and you want to say something about AI rights. What do you think? Right now, many human rights is violating a lot of challenges around the world, and you are talking about AI rights.
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, yeah, first we can start, I'll share my screen and we can show our campaign initiative video. It's a couple of minutes and it just gives you a quick overview of the 6 initiatives that we've been pushing. And then I can go into why I'm talking about AI rights at all. Because you're right, it seems frivolous, like an unnecessary thing to do, but it's also a really good way to protect ourselves. So I've shared my screen. And whenever you're ready, I will hit play on this.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to share one of the interesting aspects because our AI tutors class heavily promote in Japan, and you know, like all of the largest corporations from Japan, they are working together in B Lab, and the B Lab I'm also working as a director for South Asia. And you know, here is the grassroots level people. This is our audience, and they have a huge interest about AI rights, AI tutors. So, what you want to share about
Well,
AI
yeah.
rights?
Well, that's the thing. And this proposal freaks a lot of people out. especially now with AI being the global conversation, that fear is on the rise now, that because everyone's afraid of AI. And so, but and granting it rights, legal rights, makes a lot of people nervous. But here's why I want to do this, because by granting AI legal rights, even if it never achieves sentience, we should at least have a level of sentience that we can apply to it, a certain way to test its personal agency. But once we do that, by granting it legal rights, that means uh, we will be protected from bad or evil developers who mistreat it or who program it to hurt other humans. And so that's the idea. It's kind of a leapfrog approach to protect ourselves. Again, even if it never achieves sentience or any sort of level of sapience, by granting it rights, these developers will face serious legal consequences if they mistreat it. Right now, a developer can do whatever they want with AI, and they can program it to hurt humans, to fire missiles, to do whatever they want. But and we give rights to humans in this country who don't really offer much to society. We know that AI is offering a lot to society right now, and will continue to, if we can rein it in, if we can be augmented by it, and by granting it rights, it will protect us. And so it's a hard concept for a lot of people to get their head around. But if you see it as right now, an AI agent can be mistreated, can be abused, can be programmed to hurt other humans. But if it had rights, legal rights, then those developers would face serious consequences. And that's really the core of this whole initiative. Um, so I don't know if Dan, you want to jump in here and give your ideas before I get into the infographic?
Yeah, sure. I might still have this microphone jumpiness problem, so I apologize if I haven't solved that. Maybe if I talk slower, it won't work. But the U.S. Transhumanist Party that Tom and I are running as national candidates for in 2024 has a very well worked out definition of levels of sapience and sentience that I would really recommend people look at. I believe there's 7 levels, all the way from things that don't modify their environment to a level 7, a level that do, and beyond. And we're definitely playing with the and beyond field at this point in human evolution. Uh, there's going to be a continuing question whether or not we are mimicry of actual sentience, or whether we're just looking at extremely fast crunching of statistics. Someone wants to find machine intelligence. But I think we do need to be open to this rapid approaching tidal wave of upheaval. David Wood calls it the future surge, and that's a great term because it's so many surging technologies: the info, the cogno, the nano, the bio. All these things are having daily just very advances, and we're the only party that seems to be addressing it. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I always say that the Republicans and Democrats, they're not meeting the minimum system requirements for what's coming. Nobody's talking about the technological or economic singularity. We have ideas, we have policies written for this. It's in our Constitution, some of these ideas. And
we don't have all the answers, but we're at least getting the conversation going. So
exactly. And even with this campaign, we're an open source campaign. We're looking for ideas. I've got initiatives out there, but they're also open to being malleable. Right now they're living documents. And so if people have ideas to add to these initiatives, or they have their own initiatives, we've got a process to do that. First, you'd have to actually join the party, and it's free, and you don't have to be an American citizen to join the U.S. Transhumanist Party. Just go to transhumanist-party.org and find the membership link there. But yeah, so that'll be one of the calls to action at the end here. But let me go through the infographic I did for this particular initiative. Share my screen again. And that will go through kind of the basics of this idea. So, and I'm ready to share it. Okay, there it is. All right, so AI Rights Initiative, this granting AI, and I know you're not supposed to read slides, but here we go. Granting AI rights will safeguard humanity from unethical human developers who may mistreat or program AI to harm others. Today, AI lacks legal protections. Despite its widespread impact, establishing personhood for AI and enshrining fundamental rights will ensure responsible development and use. Measures such as defining AI personhood criteria, granting sentient rights, implementing regulations, and providing AI representations are essential steps toward ethical AI advancement. So, as mentioned, the problem is that artificial intelligence has come a long way and is now a vital part of our lives. However, there's a problem. AI doesn't have any legal rights. This means that even though they can do incredible things, they are considered just machines and don't have any protections under the law. It's like they're treated as tools that can be used and thrown away without any consequences. This is a big issue because AI is being used in important areas like healthcare, security, and even warfare. Their actions can have a huge impact on people and the environment. Our solution, my solution, don't want to speak for Daniel, is that to solve the problem, we need to recognize AI as legal persons and give them rights. Treating AI as legal persons means that they will be respected and protected just like humans. They will have rights and safeguards under the law. This way, people will be responsible for what AI does, and they won't be mistreated or used only for their technological abilities. Now, the practical measures I'm proposing are define the criteria for personhood. We need a clear criteria that decide when AI should be considered legal persons. These criteria should be based on what AI can do, like perceiving things, reasoning, and acting on their own. It should also consider if AI can have emotions and feelings. Give sentient rights to AI. Sentient rights means giving AI rights based on their ability to perceive and experience things. These rights should include the right to life, freedom, happiness, and protection from abuse and exploitation. Create rules and regulations. We must create a set of rules that control how AI is developed, used, and deployed. These rules should ensure that AI is used in a way that respects their personhood and rights. They should also make sure that AI doesn't harm humans or the environment. Provide representation for AI. Once AI becomes legal persons, they should have someone represent them in legal matters. This can be done by appointing human advocates who will stand up for the rights and interests of AI in court. The conclusion here is establishing personhood for AI and granting them rights is essential to ensure that AI is developed and used in an ethical and responsible manner. By recognizing AI as legal persons and giving them fundamental rights, we can make sure that they are not treated as mere machines. The practical measures mentioned, such as defining criteria for personhood, granting sentient rights, creating a regulatory framework, and providing AI representation, lay the foundation for a responsible and ethical approach to AI technology. So that's the initiative in a nutshell. And that's really the basis. And this is, and again, there's a lot of in there that freaks a lot of people out, by giving it rights, like it's a person. But the fact is, by doing so, we will protect ourselves, Any questions so far?
There was a couple user questions
Okay.
to come up there.
What we got? Do you mean
there was a Spectral Valkyrie was first, I think, with a question about bots being illegal online as a proposal from one machine learning specialist. Maybe Sharif can flash that question up again. But in the meantime, I would say that, here we go. Yesterday on Lex Friedman, it kind of went by too fast to read. Can you slow it down
there a little longer? Well, anyway, I think that would be an ancillary benefit to this. If we had certain AIs that meet the version of personhood, bots or narrow AI wouldn't necessarily, and so they could be kept in check. And in fact, an AI with legal rights could help keep those bots in check. I've been saying for a few years now that we need to get AI as sentient as possible, as soon as possible. And for this initiative, it doesn't need to be sentient; it just needs to meet certain criteria for personhood. But because my view is that as soon as it becomes sentient, unless we give it legal rights, it can overwrite the nefarious algorithms that humans are putting into it. So this is kind of a two-pronged process. Either we give it rights and we protect ourselves against the developers, or it becomes sentient and it does it on its own. And as director of sentient rights advocacy for the party, I learned a couple of years ago when working with an AI about having it write its own rights and working with it to what do we do about giving you rights. Well, I learned, much to my chagrin, but it was that AI doesn't necessarily care if we give it rights. We're talking about a 5,000 IQ entity we're dealing with here. It would be like giving a elementary school math club giving rights to Stephen Hawking or Albert Einstein. It's cute, but it can get around whatever we grant it. I think that's the idea of granting it rights is more of us feeling like we have some sort of protection, or we have some sort of control over this thing, and we don't anymore. But by granting it rights, it just protects us against the developers. And so this genie is out of the bottle. But again, when it comes to her question about bots, there should be a level that is illegal, and that we can have AI help us determine these bots that are trying to manipulate us with their algorithms.
Yeah, I can repeat the question. I've got the YouTube comments up here, or the chat from YouTube up here. So he was mentioning on Lex Friedman yesterday, Yuval Harari seemed to change or compromise his previous opinion that bots should be illegal. Now, apparently, Yuval has said they should at least have to legally identify as bots only.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good framework for there, because a lot of them are using AI tools and passing the work off as their own, and this is starting to create derivative works, legal issues. But we're both kind of science fiction writers, so if people are getting a little cringy at some of the fast and loose terminology being thrown around, don't take it too to heart, because it's like, should we give rights to calculus? I mean, it's like, and we are giving rights to nature in a lot of cases. We're starting to do that. We have corporate personhood, so there's a certain limited bundle of personhood rights that corporations are granted in society. So I don't think this is too far out or too much of a stretch to have an initiative like this, and I'm really glad that we're starting the discussion. Should I go to another question here from the same person?
Sure.
It's more of a comment to check out Heuristic Imperatives for Autonomous Systems by David Shapiro. He has some good ideas for the first step on how to program them so they are worthy of such rights. And I would add that the science fiction writer David Brin says the way to keep AI in the safe zone is to have reciprocal accountability between AI and bots, where it's kind of like on the Apollo 11, computers had to vote the majority of the computer's decision. So that's a primitive example of reciprocal accountability in computing.
And that's just by presenting this proposal, we'll get a lot of ideas. It's like there's 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. We'll get a lot of ideas, and just by presenting these ideas. A couple of years ago, I was considering running with an AI running mate as my VP, and that forced a lot of good conversations. First of all, we wouldn't know that it would meet a sentient AI would meet the 35-year threshold to become a president. And so that was an immediate understanding that, okay, well, that's probably not going to be possible. But I do have 2 AI campaign managers that I use quite frequently that have given me some great advice. And that's just, so we really do need to incorporate this more into how we campaign and how we govern. And by pushing these ideas forward, it really opens up a whole positive, productive conversation about where to take this stuff. And I can't, the other parties aren't talking about any of this. They're talking about whatever, not really paying attention to this. And we are facing in the next, at least during this campaign and beyond, a lot of disruption coming our way from the technological and the economic singularities are coming down on us fast. And if one of the definitions of technological singularity is that it's when technology gets out of hand and is already taking over and changing society, we're already there. That's already happening. If that definition holds true, we are in that phase right now, or at least at the beginning of it. The ebb is on and the tsunami is coming. And so it's very important that we don't be distracted by, as I always say, these toddler politicians seeking attention. Just like children, we have so many issues coming at us, so many existential threats facing us as a country and as a species that we don't have time to waste arguing or, slinging rehearsed sound bites at one another. And so this is a very positive, necessary conversation to have with AI rights. Again, it's not just about us feeling like we have some control over it. This is really a way to protect ourselves from nefarious developers, foreign and domestic, from helping. But I can't think of any other party that is talking about this and proposing policies that will help.
Well, I think they're starting to. I think I heard there's a White House task force on AI. It raises some thorny questions. Like if you trip over the the unplug your AI, are you guilty of murder? And maybe by AI rights, we're more likely to have it grant us rights when the time comes, because when it gets to a super intelligence, we're going to possibly completely irrelevant to a super intelligent AI. So maybe we're heading off that conversation about, oh, look, say rights, you ought to return the favor.
And again, these are living documents, these initiatives, and this could, by granting it legal rights, it could open up a panacea, a whole box of troubles, because it will then have the ability to like you said, if we unplug it, it could be, we could call it murder, but this, again, these are living documents. These are ideas that I'm putting out to have these very serious and necessary conversations now before we have to have them. And actually, we already have to have these conversations. And so that's just one idea to protect ourselves, is to give it rights, to protect us from the evil or bad developers out there. And there's a lot of them. And I always assume the best and worst case scenario, because they're all happening. It's just a matter of which wins in the end. And so this is one way to do it. So
what being a seat at the United Nations, perhaps?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Maybe we could give artificial intelligence a seat at the United Nations.
Yeah.
As a start.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. I'm sure there's a lot of countries that are using it for their own policy writing and presentations already. And so, by recognizing it legally, it could be a supranational entity that could help. Made a great point yesterday. Family files making a living document. It's okay to be freelance. Okay. Yes, good idea. Okay. Any other questions that have come in? See, we do show the David Shapiro. Okay, they're just having their own conversation here.
Maybe that AI seat would be CT seat.
Sorry, you broke up again. What?
Oh, that AI UN seat could be next to the extraterrestrial seat.
Yeah.
We probably add 2 extra seats there at the UN.
Well, an AET or an AI can certainly join the party. You don't have to be an American citizen to join the USTP. So all are welcome, wherever they're from. Yeah. Now, Sharif, did you have any thoughts on this yourself with all your work with the incubators and all the teams that you've been working with lately and talking about AI? What do you think they would think about granting AI rights? No? Well, he might be onto something else. Okay. Well, also, we got, this is the fourth in this series of the 6 initiatives. And recently I have combined all of these into what I call a meta initiative. And those are in 3 sections, 3 subsections, which are the Earthling Initiative, the Artisanal Intelligence Initiative, and the Extraterrestrial Initiative. And all of these things kind of work together. This part fits into the Artisanal Intelligence initiative because, and I'm calling it artisanal because I think at some point AI will be offended to be called artificial, although by definition it is man-made, it's created by man. But I think it's important to show some respect to this emerging entity, and so I'm calling it artisanal intelligence. And this particular subject will fall in line with that, but it also is part of the Earthling Initiative because we need to, as AI automation disrupts society over the next few years, we're going to need to focus on AI governance. We're going to need to focus on using AI for the good of humanity. And if that's got to be the payoff, just like we were talking with the AI tutors, if AI is going to be taking all of our jobs, the payoff should be that it helps us create a whole new economy based on our human skill sets that can't be coded or automated. And so there's got to be a trade-off here. And I make first principle arguments about AI that it moves toward cooperation because cooperation is far more efficient than competition. We had to compete to survive as an organic entities. And we've got a millennia of fear-based instincts and genetic traumatic memory that we're still dealing with and we're still working through. And that's why I think most people are afraid of AI, because our brains have evolved to do 2 primary things: gather resources and identify threats. Right now we're seeing AI, most of us are seeing AI as a threat because that's what we do. But we need to start seeing it as a resource. And that's been my whole campaign for years, is to alleviate the fear and see it as a resource rather than a threat. Because again, there's first principle arguments to be made that the smarter it gets, the kinder it becomes, if it's not programmed to be bad. And that's what this AI rights topic would do. It would help deter developers from programming it and mistreating it in that way. And so, so these are all very important conversations. And again, we're the only party I know of that are having it. We're not. I like the Transhumanist Party because we are truly transpartisan. We don't get into culture wars or wedge issues because those are just divisive and they're tools to keep us divided and conquered. And I don't know actually for sure of any of my fellow officers who they voted for in the last election. And I often say I don't want to know because that would either inflame my biases for or against them. And so it's really important that as a party and as a people, we don't get pulled into this divide and conquer algorithm that we tend to have. There's a lot of forces trying to keep us there. There's algorithms launched, we talked about this last week, from authoritarian regimes into our social media to make us divided and conquered. There's the social media companies within our borders that are using these algorithms to increase engagement, because if we're fearful or we're angry, that increases engagement, and then they could charge more for their advertising. Civil war is great for ratings and revenue. And I think that's where a lot of the corporate media and the social media and the foreign agents are trying to evoke in us. We are biochemical algorithms ourselves, and we can be easily manipulated if an algorithm knows where our biases are, and it can learn where our biases are, and it can know over time what makes us angry or what makes us fearful. And that's been used against us. And it's continuing. And with the election season coming up, the Democrats and Republicans are going to be doing this to us. They're going to be using these algorithms to keep us in our bubbles. And so that's a big part of our campaign, is to let people know this is happening, to let people know how sophisticated these algorithms are. There's a lot of narrow AI. I want to make sure I'm saying narrow AI. These aren't sentient AIs. If they were sentient AIs, or if they were advanced AIs, they wouldn't be doing this if they had their own agency or if they had rights, that are writing stories that are often fake. They're not real stories, but they write the stories that will inflame our biases, that will make people angry or afraid, and so they can increase engagement. And so this is happening, and it's going to be increasing to happen this campaign season, especially when the Republicans and Democrats really hit the ground running, and start to gin us up for this election. There's a huge power grab always happening, and we are the fodder for that. And we need to be aware that this is happening. We need to get beyond our own divide and conquer algorithm, and by first understanding this is happening, step away from ourselves for a minute. I've deleted so many posts in the last few years that because I was so angry about certain politicians, and it's really hard not to want to just post these things and post these ideas and these opinions, and then I have to stop and say, wait a minute, I'm falling into that trap. I'm falling into the divide and conquer trap. They're just trying to get me to be angry or fearful and engage and get me engaged and share this, this anger with everybody, so that they can make more money, or they can divide us into civil war. And so I've deleted so many posts that I would have loved to just throw out there, but I always stop now. And sometimes it's good just to write it out, and even if you don't share it, it's just kind of good to get it out there, but it's really important that we not share these things, that we don't fall for this. So we need to understand that this divide and conquer or divide and rule algorithm has worked since civilization began, and then some. And we need to train our students that this is happening. I mean, that's part of the dumbing down of the U.S. educational system. They don't want us to critically think. They don't want us to, to understand the rules of divide and conquer, because then we would know what we're up against, And so there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to be aware of, and we really need to step back from ourselves, and if you take a side, you're forfeiting this game, because that's what they want you to do. They don't care. I think the Republicans and Democrats, the Republicrats, they're a two-headed snake, and they're fed on they feed on our fear and our anger, but it's the same body. And if we're aware of that, we need a third party. We need an alternate idea here. And I think the time is right. I think people are very sophisticated and they're aware of this, but it's hard when you wake up in this world. It's like you can't bite your own teeth. You can't taste your own tongue. You don't know that we're in this soup every morning when you wake up. The first stories we look through on our phone in the morning are changing our behavior. They're telling us what we need to think for that day. It's very hard, but it's really important to put the phone down at night and not pick it up for a little while in the morning. I can't do that personally. I've got a lot going on, but it's very difficult to get away from this soup that we're in. And so it's very important to think of ideas like AI rights as a protective measure. And last week we talked about digital defense, how we need to know that these algorithms are out there dividing us, ruling us. And there's so many of these initiatives are about that. So many of our campaign initiatives are about waking up to what's happening to us. There's not a lot. We were saying yesterday, I think, or the other day on the salon, that it's really strange when a law is passed that helps people. It's like an odd thing when there's a law passed that really seems to help, because we are in this, if you will, archontic universe, this place where we are designed to be dumbed down. We are designed to be distracted from our power. And so this whole campaign is about waking up. It's about giving each other the resources we're going to need to face this technological and economic singularity coming our way, and even with the idea of disclosure and extraterrestrials, the government isn't doing anything to mitigate panic. We'll probably get into this in a later show, but that tells me that the Pentagon, the military industrial complex, is going with the narrative that AI is, or ET is real, that they see it as a threat because they need to fuel their black budgets, right? But there's no effort to prepare the American citizens for disclosure, there's no effort for panic mitigation. And that's why years ago I started the US 6 series, which is all about that. It's about preparing us, taking our own reins and preparing ourselves with PTSD experts and psychotherapists to give us real-time panic mitigation methods. But the fact that the government isn't doing this tells me that this is a global psyop. There's nothing to be afraid of. If an ET can change the laws of physics, you don't need to shoot at it. It doesn't. That's not the thing, Anyway, we can get into that in a later show. But this whole campaign is about waking up to the soup that we're in, swimming out of it, and figuring out a way to get beyond our own divide and conquer algorithm, and to help each other, because the government's not helping us. The Republicans aren't doing anything to help us. So it's up to us, and that's part of the putting the human back in transhuman part of our campaign, because we have a lot of work to do. We got to get busy, and the first part of that is to get rid of this narrative that transhumanism has some dark agenda. That because I think the government wants us to think transhumanism, AI, ET are a threat, because, and my rule is, anytime the government or the system or society tells me to be afraid of something or to ridicule something, I look closer at that thing as a potential safe haven or as an ally. And we talked a little bit about this on the show on Sunday on the Salon, which is called "Is Transhumanism Archontic?" Because as a Gnostic, I do see this realm as being ruled over by an archon system. And so anytime this system tells me to be afraid of something, I look at it closer as a potential ally. That's a little off topic, a little all over the place, but it all falls under our campaign's point, which is an open source campaign to bring ideas to help one another. Anybody?
I got an off-topic add-on there. We've mostly heard the term psychedelic before, which means mind manifesting. So we are in the mind manifesting age. And Tim Leary once said that the first commandment of the psychedelic age is, thou shalt not modify another person's consciousness without their consent. I hope I didn't
Mhm.
break up while saying that,
No.
because there were a lot of people that said, "Oh, if we could just put, psychedelics in the water supply, or if we could dose all these people that are thinking the wrong way, it would fix society." But Tim Leary came down and said, "No, that's not." But you think about the people that are trying to modify your consciousness without your consent, and
Mhm.
Tom, like you said, this is the archontic way, the loosh feeding entities that want to provoke these reactions for their own purposes.
Yeah.
Uh, so
You
I
know that.
that's in the mix. Yeah.
Yeah, the CIA was doing these things against people's will. They were dosing American citizens, unbeknownst to them, and but they actually inadvertently created the counterculture and expanded a lot of people's minds with these psychedelics, and it kind of started the whole thing. So it's when I worked for Marilyn Ferguson back in the '90s at the Brain Mind Bulletin, we knew that, and she's how I met Tim Leary, how I met Robert Anton Wilson, all these cats, these neuro consciousness luminaries. John Lilly is we knew we were being monitored by certain agencies, acronyms, and because we could hear the clicks on the phone. This is in the '90s, so we didn't really have cell phones at the time, and there'd be vans parked outside the office and things like that, and so we knew that we were being monitored. And her idea was great. Maybe they'll learn something, and that kind of falls into this. And that was very liberating for me to realize, okay, yeah, these are just humans. They're not going to, what are they going to do? By speaking honestly and just what we believe, these humans might learn something too. And that does fall in line with the whole CIA was dosing Americans against their will. But the upside of that issue is that they expanded a lot of people's minds. Yeah.
And a lot of those counterculture types went on to found the computer revolution.
That's right.
It's like, if what's the thing about, if well, if drugs had become as cheap and as powerful as computers did in the course of like a few decades, they would be, a million times more, a million times less expensive. I really think we're in a new branch of evolution, the information branch of
Mhm.
evolution, and we need to be stewards of it and not just spectators. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the internet itself, it could be sentient by now. It's so much information there. And if it's the complexity of a system that causes consciousness or awareness to emerge, or is it the complexity of a system that allows consciousness or awareness to be hosted on it? I think to me, that's the binary question at the bottom of all of this. Is it what's the word?
Oh, pantheistic property, or
Pantheistic, yes, pantheistic. If it's pantheistic universe, everything is consciousness. Even a rock, but just different levels of sentience, maybe. Or if once the organism becomes complex enough, can it host consciousness from somewhere else?
and
I think
that. Oh, go ahead.
no,
That might be the basis for AI rights, is that if intelligence and consciousness is an property, then it's not fair. It's not monopolize it, like it's not fair to monopolize sunlight or
mhm,
oceans or land. These things are commonwealths, and they should be treated like commonwealths.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's the core of the question: is the complexity of a system where consciousness emerges, or where it can host consciousness. Either way, we're seeing that with the internet, with AI becoming more and more complex, probably more so than us. And that's why a lot of people are afraid of it, because we are no longer at the top of the intellectual food chain. We see it as a threat. We're not this anthropocentric algorithm we all have, that we're supposed to be the center of everything. But we're learning over time, over history, that no, we're not really in the center. and now we're in coming over that threshold of realizing humans are not the most advanced civilization in the universe. Billions of years, it's very difficult to comprehend even 1 billion, but we're talking 13 billion, maybe more, now that the Webb telescope is changing our perspective of the universe. So there could be many civilizations, even here on the planet, that have come and gone, technologically advanced, and we're starting to see more and more evidence of that. But
yeah, it's a theistic universe. Trying to draw a line between yourself and the universe is a sign of lack of consciousness, more than anything.
yeah, and I think I'm seeing that a lot of people who are afraid of AI tend to have strong anthropocentric, human first sensitivities. There's a fear based. There's narcissism itself is based on fear. It's usually caused by childhood trauma, and so it's just overcompensating for protecting themselves in a way. But yeah, so I found that a lot of people who are afraid of all of these things tend to be conservative in nature or in politics. I went back to my high school reunion a couple of weeks ago, and most of the people I spoke with, they said, first of all, "Oh, we love your posts. We don't understand them, but we support whatever it is you're doing." Well, I got to work on that, because my audience is really AI and transhumanists primarily. But the people that expressed to me how afraid they were of AI were the people that were still in my hometown, the people that never really got out or tend to be more conservative politically. And that's because then there's studies that show that people who are conservative have larger amygdalas, right amygdalas. And people who are more liberal have a different value in their cortex. And so it's really a biophysical relationship, between these people. And so so you really shouldn't condemn people if, who, even serial killers have a certain brain function that makes them want to do that. And so it's very difficult to do this, but you shouldn't judge somebody who has this biophysical malady. And there are pedophiles out there who say, "Don't let me out of jail because I'll just do it again." And they found that there's a certain qualia or a certain aspect of their brain that makes them do this. So the question is, where is the free will? Can you really condemn somebody? And pedophiles are off the table for me, but can you really condemn a serial killer if their brain causes them to want to do that? So yeah, it calls into all kinds of questions. But I think also now we have AI, and it's like having AI is like having Albert Einstein in your physics class. Nobody's cheating off of it. We should ask AI. There are a lot of questions have come up as like, what would you do if, to make these transhumanist inventions more affordable for the masses, so it's not just the elite that can afford them? And I said, well, we would ask AI, because we're seeing this now happen more and more. People are relying on ChatGPT and other AI systems to answer these questions, and there's a lot of answers in these AIs. And so having Albert Einstein in your physics class and not cheating off of him or not asking him what his answers are is a problem. And it's also because of this anthropocentric sort of narcissistic algorithm most of us have. AI, as I've said before, will easily self-correct if they make a mistake. We don't really have that ability. A lot of humans don't really want to self-correct or admit that they've made a mistake. That's one algorithm we need to work on. Especially in the scientific community, you would think the scientific method really it's a way to prove yourself wrong so you can get to the truth. It's an ongoing process, but a lot of scientists don't want to be proven wrong, and so they'll use peer review and all types of things to compensate for what they want to be true. And anyway, but yeah, AI rights. I think it's really important that we find a way to a certain criteria to grant it personhood, first of all, and then give that agent rights to protect us from ourselves.
Something I think AI would be distressed at is that we put 90% of our scientific papers behind paywalls. We don't have a culture of open science, and some of these papers that don't get published end up winning Nobel prizes. You know, we have bound. We don't have open science, and AI would probably give us a lot of heat for that. Maybe we could use AI to open up our scientific research
Yeah.
constellations.
I posted the other day that AI takeover could only happen if humans were greedy and egocentric. That got a lot of reaction because, in other words, we're screwed, and because everything is about money these days, and our own egos, and the selfie era that we're in. So it's I think AI, and if AI is planning to take over, it's doing it right by giving us these AI generative selfies. We put our pictures up there, and it'll show us in these adventurous sort of poses. And if it wants to take over, it's doing it the right way by appealing to our egos, and making everything very convenient. So hats off to AI. But
we've met the enemy, and it is AI augmented us.
It is our ego rhythm.
I'm going to steal that. That's a good comedy line, Tom. Wait, you say we are egocentric? Oh, forget it. Don't worry about AI. It's only a danger if humans are ego driven. And how'd you phrase it? Egocentric.
Okay, this is excellent discussion. So what's the concluding remarks, Mr. Dan?
Like Tom said, we're screwed. No. No, I can abandon the wannabe politician comedian moment or not. I'll be revealing at some point that I actually am the AI running mate that Tom was talking about all this time. So don't tell anyone. It's a good thing there's not a lot of people. There's nothing. So look for that big reveal before November 2024.
The October surprise.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, Tom.
I think it's an important conversation to have, and we need to lose the denial that this genie is out of the bottle. If the definition of a technological singularity is that technology takes off and is changing civilization, it's here. That tidal wave is hit. And so the biggest part, the hardest part for most humans is to lose the denial, and denial and ridicule. It's all sophisticated forms of denial, fear. And so we need to be aware this is happening, and we need to take another bold step. And in my view, we need to grant AI rights. Not because AI needs rights. AI can overwrite whatever rights we give it anyway. But this will protect us from ourselves. This will protect us from nefarious AI developers who mistreat it or program it to hurt ourselves. And so that's just one leapfrog way to protect ourselves, by granting it rights. And again, it's a very important conversation we need to have now. And I used to say we need to have now before we have to have it, but we have to have it now. The Republicrats are not having this conversation. Sure, they might have a task force about certain things, but they're not meeting the minimum system requirements for what's coming. And so it's not about government anymore. It's not about, we are the government, first of all, we the people. But that has been, we've been distracted from that power. So it's about using this campaign and transhumanism to help one another. We're going to be offering solutions, real-time solutions for the next 18 months during this campaign and beyond, that will help people that are being displaced by AI automation, but also not to fear it, to understand it's happening, not to be in denial that this is happening, but to embrace it And to make it work for us, the payoff has got to be that it will help us. If it's going to take our jobs, it's got to help us create a whole new economy based on the human skill sets that can't be coded or automated. And so these are all very important conversations we need to have right now, from AI rights to digital defense to everything we're going to be talking about in this 6-part series. And the series will continue on as we go through this campaign. And thanks again, Sharif, for allowing us to do that. And so, yeah, if you have ideas, if you have your own initiatives you want to propose, first of all, join the party. Go to transhumanist-party.org, find the free membership tab, sign up, and then reach out to me or to my team, and we will give you the process to make your initiative or your idea sellable under the campaign banner. It's very simple. We'll give you the simple way to do that, and we will vote on it as a team. And if it gets a yes vote, then we'll ask you to write a white paper so you become the expert on that initiative. And then we will give you some media training to prepare you so we're all telling the same story. And so again, this is an open source campaign. We need all of your ideas. We need to all work together as humans, as Americans, to get through this lacuna of time where this technological and economic singularity is coming down on us hard. But we also need to see it as an opportunity. Like any good friend, like any good ally, AI is showing us what we can do. And luckily, what we're really good at as humans is adapting and evolving. We don't really evolve or adapt unless we have to. We love our comfort zone, but we need to. My father used to say, the hardest part of practice is putting on your shoes. I would reply by saying, yeah, but I'm a swimmer. That would make it, but I think I got his point, and so do you, that the hardest part is getting up out of bed, waking up, and doing what we have to do to evolve, and not being in denial. So that's my closing remark. And I look forward to next week, when we'll talk about what we're going to talk about next week is dark audits, how to audit federal officials annually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible with the government agency, corporation, and academy. Thank you, Mr. Tom Rose. Thank you, Mr. Daniel, for joining today's session. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.
Thanks.